Hello, everybody. This is the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. Every week, our goal is to bring you a talk from someone doing something interesting, fascinating, inspiring, something along those lines, such that you will get to the end of the talk and think, man, I am better off than I was mere 30 minutes ago. And you are catching who bringing this to you? The Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. It is a global group of folks interested in technology's ability to serve the business of service and to focus on the goals of Rotary International, a group of 1.2 million people around the world and 34,000 clubs, making the world a better place locally and globally. Our speaker today, you read about him coming in as a part of this, as a part of the meeting that this recording is the presentation for. And he is in the UK. He has a wonderful story to tell, and he will help you understand what Dogoodery is. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to our favorite Dogoodery master, Chris Wells.
Hi everybody. Oh, this is exciting. This feels like a radio show, the way that was introduced, and now I've got my fancy new mic. Hello, welcome from the place of England. I'm Chris Wells. Hi. So I just want to share very quickly my journey through what Rotaract was, from literally knowing anything about Rotaract, knowing nothing at all, to setting up my own club and creating some amazing acts of charity and making the world a better place. I'm trying to not say do-goodery. I was trying to save it, but I'm going to say it. Well, amazing acts of do-goodery. And so what happened was, I literally had no idea what do-goodery... do-goodery? I knew what do-goodery was. We all know what do-goodery was, but I had no idea what Rotaract or Rotary was. I always thought Rotary was like the weird thing. You just see those little cogs on buildings every once in a while, or a load of old people that ring bells in restaurants. That was all I knew about it. And what happened was, I met a Rotarian, he introduced me to it, I got all involved, and we started doing all this amazing stuff. And to start off, one of the things we needed to do was create these tent poles to always have something to meet about when setting up our meetings. And these became our quizzes. And we started doing these pub quizzes, or trivia nights, as I know Americans know them as. And we started doing this a lot, and these became everything that we would meet about were always about these trivia nights. And once we started doing that, we then transitioned into doing more acts, more kindness, more things going out. And from doing that, that was how I learned. I was like, actually, Rotaract is just doing good. That's what it is. Rotaract. Oh, wrong button, Chris. This is all new. This is all new presentations for me. I'm trying to be as slick as possible. Rotaract was just doing good, putting more good in the world. That was it. You do good. That's do-goodery. Just doing good. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. Do-goodery. Going out, doing good in the world. That was what it was. And to put a bit of context in, across Great Britain and Ireland, in the 1980s and 1990s, a time where television looked like this, and people looked like this, across Great Britain and Ireland, there were approximately 25,000 Rotaractors. And then you contrast that with the year 2015, where televisions very clearly looked like this. You in Silicon Valley know that very well. Where televisions look like this. Across Great Britain and Ireland, there are approximately 1,000 Rotaractors. And the question that goes through everyone's head when I show this is always, why? What happened? Who did this? What went on? And I think part of it was Rotary was its own thing, Rotaract was its own thing, and they went off and started growing. And in that day and age, it didn't matter. Nobody cared, because everyone was doing their own thing and growing and being in this point of power and strength, and it went off and was going all great. And then what happened was, at some point, Rotaractors aged out one way, didn't want to join Rotary, and Rotarians aged out of life, and then the numbers started to reduce, and unfortunately we start getting into this position now. But contrast that. So when we started working really closely with our Rotary clubs, and we started doing way more things out in the community. And District 1070, the district that I'm in, across the centre of England, we started doing all of these amazing things, working together as well, growing our numbers, even when there was just 2 or 3 of us, growing and doing all this amazing stuff, which to me is just a perfect thing of do-goodery. Do-goodery is just making the world a better place, putting more good in the world than was there before. And my favourite slide I use in this and all my talks is remembering that we're in this together. Do-goodery is a shared experience. We're on the same bike going to the same place. And the way that we formalise this across Great Britain and Ireland was having these ambassadors, creating a link between Rotaract and Rotary, this new contemporary Rotaract, or as I like to call them, ambassador-gooders, or if you can't read properly, ambassador-dog-gooders. But once again, it can work using this kind of thing, because what happens is often Rotaractors, because of the age group they're in, are young professionals. They may not have enough time to set up big, massive, amazing projects, or the experience, or the wisdom, or even the self-belief, and think that they can do. But I tell you who does. All these amazing Rotarians working together, growing together. And just across the past couple of years across our district, these are just some of the charities that had money, service, all done for them that wouldn't have been done before if it wasn't for working together, if it wasn't for that Dogoodery and that shared belief that we can just do all this together. And one of the charities I want to quickly talk about is Different Strokes. Different Strokes is a support group for young victims of stroke. And a young victim of stroke is basically anyone deemed under working age, which at this point is under 75, let's be honest. Is under 60, under this age. And it's a lot more common than you think it is. We have a member in our club who went to bed at Christmas Eve. I think she was 17, 18. Went to bed on Christmas Eve, woke up in the middle of February. And the thing is that what happens with people that go through these experiences, they become very isolated. Some of them become severely disabled and then start withdrawing from people, feeling embarrassed, feeling not able to go out and share those experiences. And even people who get by, they find that people come up to them and be like, hey, I understand what you've been through. And they're like, no, you haven't. No, you don't. You don't understand what we've been through. And setting up these support groups allows these people to discuss and do it. And in fact, the photo here is from our very first support group, which to me was one of the best things we did. And this, as well as doing our quizzes and our regular acts of Dogoodery, these became our regular service project, something that we as Rotaract owned. But this all came by, as I said before, we didn't have the self-belief to set something up like this. But you know who did? You know who did understand about setting up long-term projects? Was Rotary, working together, doing all of this. So reminding us, what is Rotaract? What is Rotary? It's Dogoodery. That's what it is. It's making the world a better place, doing all this amazing stuff. And now I want to go to the last letter of Dogoodery. And why? Why are you going on about this, Chris? What is it that makes you talk about this all the time? And well, some of the reasons that I have. Reason one, this, by the way, this was a slide I made a while ago, but it seems even more relevant now. Sometimes the world can feel a bit like a big trash fire, a big garbage fire. And it's really easy to forget that there's actually good in the world. It's really easy to watch the news and see all this horrible stuff going on. I've had days, especially, in the past years, especially past year, where it's been really difficult to get out of bed. It's been really difficult to kind of see the world as it is and see people be so cruel. And the thing is the news is designed to talk about all that, and you forget that there's goodness in the world. There's people that want to do well. And doing this kind of thing, doing Rotaract and Rotary, really reminds that. Just meeting you guys today and hearing some of the projects you guys are doing. Speaking to Patrick the other week, speaking to Faheen just now, just listening to her talk about, so it's like amazing. Putting more good in the world, and you just forget. It's so easy to forget and to think that the world feels like this. Reason number two, even more relevant now, loneliness, depression, mental health issues among young people have been on the rise. That lack of companionship, that lack of feeling a part of a group. That, even the world of social media, people are struggling to kind of create those connections. But you know what doesn't? Rotary. Even just now, we're talking across the pond and developing these relationships. Reason number three of why, in the year 2030, where televisions probably look like this, who might be doing the service at this point? The average age of some Rotary clubs right now is in the mid-70s. So let's fast forward plus 9 years. Who's going to be doing this? Who's going to be making the change in that world? Remembering we're on that bike, we're going towards the same place. One of my favourite pictures, a visual perfection of this metaphor, is this photo right here. That is a Rotaractor and a Rotarian doing an act of Dogoodery down the biggest building in Northampton. We'll call it the Empire State Building. They're going down the Empire State Building, abseiling, and raised thousands and thousands of pounds for Different Strokes, for the Different Strokes charity. Together. Where else do you see people of these two generations together? Where else do you meet people of different generations? Normally you meet older people, what, at work and maybe through family if you're lucky. If you're lucky. Yeah, family if you're lucky. Meeting these people, where else do you see that? Where else do you see this beautiful image of Dogoodery? Two strangers that now know each other. Also, by the way, the guy on the left-hand side, that is that guy in this photo here. This is actually a photo of Rotaract in the early 90s or late 80s at some point. But this is the image to me that perfectly shows why we need to be working together more, why we should talk together more and do stuff like this, creating those connections, because we can do so much more together, so much more to make the world a better place and sharing those experiences. I know that there's fairly few. I know COVID-19 has kind of helped this a bit, but you know, there was a lot of older people who don't like technology, don't like doing all things like this. And actually there's a lot of younger people who do know how to do cool and amazing things with that technology. And that is one of my favorite things about it, is that we get to share that wisdom, share that experience, to grow together, to make the world a better place, to put that do-goodery out there. And then something happened across the world, COVID-19, which obviously completely messed everything up and messed up all of our plans, messed up all of our thoughts and feelings and things like that. But what happened was the do-goodery kept going. Despite COVID-19, we were able to go. Our different strokes meetings all started meeting online. In fact, they became even more regular. Our different strokes meetings used to be monthly, they're now bi-weekly. And they find it even more now when the world is especially stressful because of COVID-19, that it became so much more necessary and helpful and easier to set up and do. Our meetings now meet all the time virtually on stuff like this, and actually they last 20 minutes. So then the actual buy-in required to do these acts of do-goodery are way lower, because it takes 20 minutes every 2 weeks to find an act that you can get involved with and help out and do all these amazing products and meet all amazing new people. So while COVID-19 can be a particularly stressful and awful thing, and it is still an awful, terrible thing, the one thing that it has forced into a lot of people is another thing that a lot of people can get scared of, especially across older generations, is change. And the thing is, all of this do-goodery, remembering what we're here for, keeping our eyes towards that goal of do-goodery, allows us to embrace that change, to make the world a better place together. And that is what I have to say. I hope I'm on time. I tried really hard to keep it on time. Thanks.
Excellent. I can see the applause happening around our Brady Bunch screen right now. That's fantastic. So as we look at this, I know we've got plenty of questions forming in the minds of the folks who are here, and I'm going to introduce those people with those minds. And so from the please wave when I call your name. From the Rotary eClub of Hawaii, we have Melissa Ige with us. So Melissa, thank you for joining us. From the Rotary Club of TL Wall Street, which I may have pronounced kind of close-ish, in the Netherlands, District 1550, that's Patrick Hardeman. Thank you so much for being part of this. We have with us a guest of the club and another speaker, as it turns out, Andrew Vanden Heuvel, an amazing astronomy educator in Michigan. From our club, we have currently somewhere in the world, President Raquel, a doctor making a big difference in her home country of Mexico. We have here in the Bay Area, she'll be back. We have here in the Bay Area, Shags, our paella master. We have former Peace Corps volunteer, Cecilia Babkirk, now in California, previously in Ethiopia, in the thriving metropolis of Soda, right? We have also here in the Bay Area, we have Farheen Abbasi, our membership chair and part of the global telemedicine group. My name is Rushton Hurley. It is a pleasure to be part of this cool club, which you, by the way, can find at rotary.cool. Try it. And we're excited to have you with us, Chris. So, Chris, start us off by what was the first moment where you connected with Rotary? Like did someone just say, hey, join this club? What was it that went from I have no idea what that is in the world to okay, I'm now part of a group? How did that happen?
essentially, I was working in a school at the time, and one of my friends in the school just happened to be married to a Rotarian. In fact, she was a Rotarian as well, and she happened to be married to a Rotarian. And someone had said to me, maybe you should look at doing this kind of volunteering club, this Rotary thing. And I'm like, what is this Rotary thing? So we had a meeting, and he was literally like, oh, this Rotary thing, yeah, they're all old. You don't really want to go there at the minute. We're trying to change stuff and make things new. So you should set up a Rotaract club. And I was like, what on earth is a Rotaract club? And then he said, it can be whatever you want it to be. So I literally essentially kidnapped a load of my friends. We all had a meeting, and then we were like, right, let's start doing things to raise money for charity. And that's what eventually became our quizzes. It just started growing from there. We started doing these quizzes, started generating money for charitable causes that we cared about, then turned into that service project with different strokes, and then has kind of grown into these projects of us working with other Rotary clubs, me doing this and talking to you guys, and working together across the district and growing it together. And and it's one of those things, isn't it, where it's like I couldn't tell you where it officially started, where the moment was where it all clicked, but it was literally like I kidnapped a load of friends. We're like, hey, let's start doing some stuff. Let's start making the world a better place. And it was almost just the ball started rolling so much. It really is now where we are, and it was only 4 or 5 years ago that was the case.
Excellent. From the geographically difficult location of Hawaii, Melissa has a question.
Yeah, Chris, I would like you to speak to the ambassadors, because I think that's brilliant. And I think that's something that we need to implement here in Hawaii. So if you could just speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, of course. So the ambassadors was a way. So the gentleman that I met was Jim Davis in Market Harbour Rotary, and he essentially was like, we need to formalise the kind of relationship that we were doing, because it started off of, like I said, we started doing these charitable bits, started doing these bits and bobs, but Jim was like, right, the way that we're working is working really well, because anytime it was like, right, we need a room. Oh, Jim, hi, Jim. What do we do? What's health and safety? And he'd be like, right, it's this. And that worked so well that when we started trying to grow the district, and I became district Rotaract representative, essentially in charge of Rotaract across the district, as we started to grow that, we realised having that kind of formalised process, which he did because I'm young and chaotic, and he's like, wise, and he's like, yes, process. So, and it literally became that first port of call, the first person who owns the idea of the Rotaract from the club and the area that they're in. So anytime someone's in a jam or they need some information, they know there's just that one person to talk to, so it doesn't get lost in the amazing flurry of how many people and how many things are involved in this, because the one thing Rotary loves is infrastructure and complicated stuff. That's necessary. I don't want to diss it. I don't mean to diss it. It's necessary, but sometimes you look at like the amount of roles and acronyms and things, it's like, there's a lot.
There's a lot of yin and yang in Rotary. Let's put it that way. Andrew, if you will unmute and ask a question.
Yeah, I'm curious, Chris, just what you do professionally and whether or how that connects to your passion for service.
Well, funnily enough, the photo of the two strapping young Rotaractors, that's COVID-19. We don't want to transition back to that again. The strapping young guys here. In fact, the guy on the other side, this guy here, that man is actually my boss now. And he's works for a management consultancy and thinking company that goes around and the idea, consults and helps people encourage their thinking to do more amazing things to save money. But because he used to be a Rotaractor, I got to a point where I basically had a near mental breakdown, had to quit my job because I just couldn't handle it anymore. And by sheer luck, through the amazing connectiveness of Rotary, I was able to find this amazing guy who basically brought me into his company. And now we develop online thinking courses and helping people make the world a better place, essentially, because it's using those systems to kind of go out. And I think that the value of Dogoodery is something that has never left him. So it's something that we're still using and doing towards charitable causes and service today.
Excellent. Now, Chris, the figures for Rotaractors in Britain that you like, the 25,000 from the 80s, 1,000 in 2015, that's quite the drop off. Have you seen a rebound in some way? And if so, are there particular things you point to?
Yeah, there has been a rebound. It has been growing. I haven't actually looked at the numbers for a while, and as you've said that, I've gone, why haven't I looked at the up-to-date numbers? But in 2015, which was when I started, it was in December of 2015 we started our club. Those were the nearest numbers we had, because we were supposed to have a national MDIO and infrastructure, so people be able to, have a national or people to talk to or know to kind of where it would go, but we didn't. It wasn't very well communicated or tracked. And what we do have now across Great Britain and Ireland, we have a very robust MDIO that just had its conference on yesterday, in fact. And for the first time, I've been on calls with other DRRs or seen group chats with other DRRs across district Rotary representatives across all of England. And all these people, and I can talk, if I need to talk to a Rotary in Scotland, I now can just find them and email them very quickly, as opposed to 2015, where I literally couldn't at all. I was even like, is there a Rotary club up there maybe? Now it's like, oh yeah, there is, right, it's Bill, let's go talk to Bill, and it's sorted. So the fact that that's become a lot easier is already, I think, testament to where it was just a few years ago. And I think the key things is stuff like that MDIO and having really strong leadership that has helped grow it, but also knowing that we now have people to go to look for help, as opposed in Rotary, and having those ambassadors to help us grow it. And to kind of also the support of Rotary. Like, I started doing these speeches. The reason that I got into this kind of route was because they were like, you need to talk to a load more Rotary clubs and tell them they're all going to die soon and they need to start a Rotary club, was literally one of the informal briefs that I was given. And because a lot of them were in that old hat and being scared of change, because they were like, well, we've done it before, it was a failure, what's the point? So it was trying to find new ways of doing it, trying to change it up. So and that was really one of the biggest, most powerful things, getting that support. Because normally, we're getting that support now from Rotary and helping us grow. And the kind of relationship is becoming more amicable, so we can grow it together for Dogoodery, because that's the central goal of what we want.
So get ready for a bit of a lengthy question. It's going to culminate in tell us a cool story. But let me kind of spec that out a bit. Several of us have been in the space of listening to people in Rotary talk about things like, we need to bring up our numbers, we need to bring up our numbers, we need more numbers, where are your numbers, how about those numbers? To the point where we're kind of like, right? In part because my gut feeling, and I know I'm not alone in this, is that if your club does cool stuff, the numbers take care of themselves, right? And so our question then becomes, well, how do we share the stories of the cool stuff we do? We're working hard to get lots of cool things into our meetings. We share links to the great programs that we get, including this one, right? We do that kind of thing. The story that you told about different strokes, to me, is the kind of thing that it's exactly the kind of thing that makes people stop and say, I want to be part of this. You mentioned several other charities. Is there a story connected to one of those or to something else that also captures that same feel for you?
There is, although it's a different kind of feel. So the best one, I was going to see if I can get this out. The best one that was because obviously when you hear about these amazing acts of kindness, these amazing acts of service, when you see it, people want to get involved. In fact, the thing that I said before I go to is that I hate the thing that people say, where it's go, Rotary is the world's best kept secret. And it's like, all right, then, well, why? Why does not everyone know what Rotary is? Everyone knows what the Illuminati is. Everyone knows who Tesla are. Why don't they know what Rotary are? And it's because a lot of it is because people, I think a lot of it, I'm putting a lot of assumptions out there. I think some of it is that people often go and talk, they go around old routes. So they go, right, let's publish in the newspaper that nobody reads anymore. As opposed to using modern ways of sharing those stories and developing and growing those things. Because, I got involved because I happened to run into a Rotarian. It wasn't because I'd heard about it before. But now that I do it and I post often about social media on it, people will write to me and go, oh, I was watching Back to the Future the other day and I saw a little Rotary symbol. You do that stuff, isn't it? How do I get involved? And all of a sudden, it grows like that. And one of the things that we did, as well as these amazing acts of service, one of the charities that we did, I'm just going to switch to the slide. I'm sorry, there's so many buttons. This is really new technology for me. On that one there, wheel map. So Wheelmap is a charity that basically puts whether places are wheelchair accessible on a map, works in with Google Maps, can go around, and whether they have wheelchair accessible, whether they have wheelchair accessible toilets, and how, you know, accessible friendly they are. And what we started doing was, and I wish I could say it was a Rotaractors idea, but it wasn't. I think it was actually Jim Davis's idea. We do it as a district. Well, back in the before times when we were allowed outside before COVID-19. In the before times, Jim was like, right, let's do this as a bar crawl. So what we would do, we would have a district bar crawl. So everyone from the district, because England's small, everything, you know, everyone we all came together on a big night out, and we would go from pub to pub. And on the way, we would use the app and be like, okay, this one is wheelchair accessible. This way is this. And then as the night went on, we'd be like, okay, it's the wheelchair accessible. And also, like, you know, because you trip over stairs a lot more as the night goes on. And that became a really good, exciting social, because not only is it, you know, a pub crawl, which is all, you know, can be exciting for a lot of people to get people involved with, but also an act of service to help to do some do-goodery at the same time. And in fact, we kind of, in the world of COVID-19, we've started doing that a bit more now by doing online socials that I've been running. And Patrick, you are coming to our next online social, and everyone else is invited as well. But I've started developing like weird, fun online drinking games and fun stuff like that. But a lot of Rotaractors bring their friends in who may not even have heard what Rotaract is, and they just so happen to see the Rotaractors, and maybe there's a bit more of service in that as well, but they get to see, oh wow, there's all these people, oh wow, this is what Rotaract actually is. They're educated there, but also get to have a good time. But yeah, my favourite one was using Wheelmap, because yeah, we do it as a bar crawl, and what we do is now we try and do it as an exchange programme across the district. So I'm from Market Harborough, this small town, and then we go to Northampton. The next one I think we're due is Northampton, so we're going to go to a town I've not ever gone on a night out in, and go around and mark where the places are wheelchair accessible, and hopefully not fall up too many stairs. So it's a really good way of kind of having fun, but also doing those little acts of service. I hope that made sense.
That was an awesome answer. And for those of you who are watching the recording, you are going to miss the discussion we are going to have because we try to keep this thing to about 30 minutes. But then we keep talking to the really cool people that make presentations to us. And you're going to miss the discussions we're about to have about the technology that he is using today, because I got to know. Now, if you are visiting us, change COVID-19. If you are visiting us and you are a Rotarian in a club, and you have the righteous perspective that you should keep up 100% attendance because that keeps your level high for being inspired, all right, then all you really need to do is let us know you were here. Just a little bit farther down our meeting page, you're going to see a thing to fill out. And if you successfully type in your email address, right, then that will return a note to you that you can pass along to your club secretary to make up a miss. Additionally, we have a discussion section at the bottom of the page, discuss, DISQUS, and loads of cool thoughts there. We hope you will let us know what you think of this program and the other elements of the meeting if you are watching this on our meeting page, because we hope that you will come back and visit us as often as you like, because you're absolutely free to do so. One of the big goals of our club is to inspire people left, right, and center, and we make that as easy as possible by not even requiring people to say pay or log in or anything like that. So with that, we hope you will see your way to joining us again. And as we always like to do in these recordings, we hand it back to our speaker for a final word. Chris, finish us off.
I'm going to go arty. Hi. Here's the final word. Everything that I've been talking about today is just remembering that one goal, that one light at the end of the tunnel. Do-goodery. Just remember that we're all in this to make the world a better place. And that's it. Ignore everything else. Ignore the bureaucracy, internal politics, all the arguments. It's all about making the world slightly better than it was before and putting that in. And I think that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Wonderful. We will see you next week.